This is Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars with Trevor Long and Stephen Fennick. Thanks to NRMA Insurance and Uniden.
Great to have your company, folks. Thanks for downloading, thanks for listening, and thanks to NRMA Insurance, a help company helping Australians protect what matters most for almost 100 years. They are Australia's largest insurer of electric vehicles. And, of course, Uniden Smart Dash Cams. If you need a dash cam, Stephen, who do you go to?
Uniden
No one
Smart
else.
Dash Cams, award-winning dash cams. So I recommend the front and rear cameras. Most accidents are rear enders. Did you know that?
Well,
I know this from experience. So not I was the one getting hit, by the way.
I
wasn't hitting someone
Just
else.
to be clear.
But yeah, it is. Look for the model with the R, so it's the front and rear camera.
In their whole range, anything with an R has the rear camera as well. So thanks for your company, folks, and thanks for sharing the show with your mates or people you hear that are interested in EVs. We love hearing from you too. 0477 657 657. Stephen, one of the things I've started noticing a lot in the messages that we get is thanks for the show, and I've just binged the whole lot. Like they're on their EV journey and they're going back and listening to older episodes.
Yeah.
So I'm pleased and proud of the fact that it's a evergreen in that sense, so people can learn about EVs from us.
That's right. Well, that was sort of the goal of the show, wasn't it? To sort of be able to provide information for people who have just purchased, thinking of purchasing, don't want to purchase. It's open to everyone. So we're the guys at the barbecue that you'd normally talk to about it, but here you can listen to us whenever you want.
And the other thing is, don't be afraid to get in touch. 0477 657 657, because we want to learn from you as well.
Yeah.
We learn just as much from talking to people. We learn about the industry. We learn about the goods and bads of people's experience. And we also learn just new little things. So always great to hear from people, no matter where you're at in your EV journey.
Absolutely.
All right? So
the more the merrier.
Please get in touch, and we'll get as many people on the show as we can here on Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. All right, you love bopping along, but we've got calls to get to, Stephen. Jordan's on the line. G'day, Jordan.
G'day, boys. How are we?
Yeah, really good, mate. Great to have you on the show. Where are you in your EV journey, mate? What's your situation?
Mate, we so mid last year I put in a heap of solar at home. So we had 15 kilowatts of solar put on the roof. Having a look at the bills and thought we need to do something about this. So chucked on the 15 kilowatts of solar, and then quickly realised from looking at that and thought, wow, I am pumping a lot of energy back into the grid here that I'm just not utilising, and it felt like a huge waste. Yep. So that sort of started me thinking about maybe an EV, and my wife works in the medical industry and had the option to do a novated lease. So we started looking around and ended up test driving a couple, and we ended up getting a Niro, KIA Niro.
Yep.
And nice. it's a ripper thing, really good. So
I reckon it's desperately underrated. We've spoken to a few people with them, but they're desperately underrated, because I think that the car companies, and it's kind of, Kia really aren't pushing the Niro because they're pushing the EV9, the EV5 even now. But that thing has been around for a while. There's been several iterations of it.
Nice car.
Cracking little car. How did you stumble across that though?
I just started looking around at all the different options, and I saw it, and I saw a couple that were priced. And to be honest with you, the pricing was all over the place. I saw them for 70 grand, I saw them for 50 grand, and I'm thinking, well, this is a huge price. And then obviously this was around the time that they were thinking of the EV5, and you could sense there was some desperation for dealers to move them on. I think the new model coming. And I saw one and I thought 47,990 with 700 Ks on a dealer demo. I thought that sounds too good to be true. Mate, so we went and drove it, and
you couldn't get a better deal with a balaclava on. That's a great deal.
100%, yeah. So it's been a ripper thing, mate, and she absolutely loves it. So based on that experience, she drove it. I started finding myself choosing to drive it as well, thinking, it's just a fun little car to drive.
Yep. You say that like you didn't think you would. You say that like you're a traditionalist and you thought, nah, mate, EV's not for me. But you went with it because of that excess solar. So it obviously surprised you.
Yeah, I do. And I love a bit of modern technology. I'm one to adopt change. I actually do like change, but I work in an industry that's the polar opposite of that, which is the heavy vehicle industry. And let me tell you, driving an EV when you work with trucks for a living, you certainly cop it all the time. But that's okay. It's all right. It's all in good humour, But then, boys, and I don't know how to tell you this, but then I decided it's time for me And then I went and kissed the proverbial toad, and it turned into a prince, and I bought one.
Look out.
Wow, the Model Y.
Well, so that's a fascinating thing. Obviously, I have my views, but it's fascinating to me that you had such a pleasant experience with the Kia. Did you consider other things, or was that just a no-brainer for you in some way?
Look, it was a bit of a no-brainer for me. Once I drove the Tesla and saw the infotainment and the way it worked and did my research on the charging infrastructure, and I just thought, a lot of people traditionally want to have an ICE car and an EV. You don't see a lot of two EV people, and I understand why.
Trevor's one. Trevor's got two EVs in his family. Trevor's a two EV family. Yeah.
Oh, well, we're not all doing as well as Trev, though,
Well, you are, mate. You are. You got a Model Y as well. So that's not too bad.
That's right.
So what attracted you to the Tesla? Why the Tesla? You mentioned the charging infrastructure. Is that a selling point, do you reckon, the charging infrastructure?
100%, absolutely. So if you're not going to have an ICE car, I think the next best thing is to have a vehicle that's got access to the best charging network that you can get. And obviously there's nothing better than Tesla. So I was a bit concerned about the loss of Apple CarPlay initially, because I was a pretty heavy Apple CarPlay user. But I think the way Tesla do it with with the inbuilt apps, with the Spotify and the Audible and all that sort of stuff,
you can get away with it.
You can get away with it, and I haven't missed it at all, to be truthful with you. And I love the Model Y.
What were you driving before the Model Y? What?
So I actually had a company car, which was just a Hyundai Tucson before that, and prior to that, I had a Jeep Grand Cherokee before that.
So you stayed in the
Tesla's not your company
space.
car, but now is it? The Tesla's not your company car; it's your car.
No, it's my car. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Yeah. So I decided to, which was a big step as well, to move away, because obviously financially it's nearly always better to have a company car. But and I didn't have the option of novated lease where I work, unfortunately, but I did get a 2.9% interest rate when I bought the car, and it was about 62 grand or something on the road. So I thought that's not bad for a Tesla. So that's really good.
How's that excess solar use going then? Because that is, mate, when I look at the graphs every day, I'm thinking we charged, but we still sent some back. So how are you feeling about that now? You feel like you're getting use of it?
Mate, still sending some back. So what I did was I installed a Zappy. I've got 3-phase power at home. So I installed a 3-phase Zappy charger, and with that, with the app for that, I can really see what's going on. So I'll find myself at times looking at it and going, righto, we're sending power back to the grid, but we need to charge the car, so let's plug it in. Mm-hmm. Then other times I'll go, well, we're actually using a bit of power, so I might go and turn something off and plug the car in. So I might say, let's just turn the pool pump off for a while or something like that, turn the heating off, and then send that power back to the car. And then once the car's charged, then I'll flick it back over. And it's definitely making an impact. And we're trying to use as much of it as we can. I mean, it costs a fortune to put in, so you've got to try and recoup that somehow.
Does it suit your working needs? I mean, the thing, I'm fortunate right now, my wife's at home more days of the week than certainly I am. And so, she's now understanding how the solar works. She's just plugging the car in when there's sun, so. But if you're not working from home, or you're not at home during daylight hours a lot, it doesn't work perfectly that way. So is it working out for you in that sense?
100%. My wife's a nurse, so she's a shift worker, so that works really well for her. Wow. And my work is pretty flexible. And to be honest, at the moment with daylight savings, I generally get home, I pick the kids up from school. I've still got a few hours to chuck some solar in for $0.
So what sort of driving do you do, Jordan? How do you drive a lot each day or not? And how's the EV suiting you?
Oh, look, I'm loving it. It's I've probably done. I picked it up New Year's Eve, and I think I've done about 6,000 Ks now. So
okay, so you do a bit of driving then, eh? That's a few Ks.
I do a bit of driving, sort of out on the road, seeing customers and doing that sort of thing. But also, I've done a couple of trips, a couple of golf trips, been up to Cobram a couple of times in northern. So, and Cobram RACV's just installed a charger there, a big, I think it's a 100 kilowatt or whatever it is charger up there. So they've got a fast charger on site now. So that made that trip incredibly easy.
Yeah, nice.
Having said that, though, I would have made it there and back, I think, no problem. So I've not had an issue with it, to be honest. Right. I don't. I did have range anxiety when I first got it. I thought, oh, is this going to be okay? Particularly the fact that I bought rear-wheel drive. I didn't get the long range, but honestly, it's just not a problem. If you've got charging at home and you just plug it in when you can, it's just not an issue at all.
And your wife is happy with it too? It suits her driving? She's had no dramas?
Mate, she loves it. She said to me just the other day that she said, I don't remember actually ever having a car that I looked forward to driving because it was fun. Wow. She finds it really fun to drive it. She said it's like driving a big Dodgem car. And I'm going, well, maybe you don't think of it as a Dodgem car, but yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe move away from the Dodgems, but enjoy the fun. And I think that's the realization even my wife has admitted to, is that it's a nicer car to drive. It's quiet. Yes. It's just a smoother drive. You know, the sound of an engine is a strange thing for an EV driver to hear when you drive a car. You realise, like you get in an Uber or something that's not electric and you go, man, cars are actually noisy inside. You kind of forget that.
I had that when I had my replacement car after getting my EV repaired, and it was like, wow, it's something you think, oh, okay.
So, Jordan, any regrets or changes you would make to what you've done?
What would you do? Yeah.
No, absolutely not. I think the only thing I might have changed is potentially gone for a longer range, potentially. But like I said, it hasn't really made an issue. It's one of those things that's in my mind, but it doesn't need to be there because it's never actually been an issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, maybe I would have gone the NMC battery, but then I was a little bit confused with that because I'm going, if you've got an NMC, you're charging to 80%. So if you've got an LFP, you're charging to 100%. Are you almost getting the same range anyway?
Yeah, that's a good point because, you only see the challenged range of your car when you go to 100 if you're driving a car that normally is charged to 80. Plus, it's another thing to learn and educate. So you're right. I mean, sometimes you have this thing in your head that you're going to have some sort of range anxiety, but actually it's almost non-existent most of the time. Well, mate, that's an awesome setup you got happening. I'm glad you're getting the most of that solar because it is a big investment for your family, for your home.
Absolutely.
And your wife is happy, which is very important.
Mate, happy wife, happy life.
That's it.
Yep.
Oh, believe me, that's that was the number one priority, making sure she was happy. I had to talk her into the EV. It wasn't an easy sell.
And it was a good result in the end. Mate, I got one other question.
Great result.
What's your handicap? You play golf? You play golf a bit?
Yeah, I'm handicapped all right on the golf course. It's not good. No, it's about 20, so I'm rubbish. But I only took it up during COVID.
You're about my level, mate. I
was going to say,
off 21.
I think I'm off 75.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. So you're a good golfer then.
Well, no, I wouldn't call myself. I'm off 20. I'm off 21. But Trev
just enjoys getting out.
Yeah,
and
just enjoys the sunshine.
My doctor said I need some vitamin D.
Plenty of room in the boot too for the clubs. The Model Y's got a big storage area up the back there.
Did you know what I did? I took the golf bag in when I looked at the car and made sure it fit.
You know what? I did the same thing.
Well played. Good on you, mate. Great to hear from you, and thanks for getting in touch, Jordan.
Good on you, Jordan.
Boys, listen, thanks so much for the show. You do an amazing job on educating people on what it's all about, and I think I've listened to you guys from beginning to all the way up until now, and it's been really good, mate. Really good what you guys are doing.
Thank you, mate. It means a lot, buddy. It means a lot. Thanks, mate. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, boys. Take care.
Cheers. What a legend. Great stuff. Look, it's more. I see more people with two EVs than
mate, it's happening.
I expected.
I'm hoping that we become a 2 EV family in the near future, but it's good to see
I
that
see an EV3 from Kia in your future.
Maybe, yeah. I was dropping that name. Yeah, I was dropping because Joe drives a Kia now.
Yeah,
like the Sportage.
I don't think she needs an EV5, but EV3 when that comes out, which is probably in the coming months, be a lovely car to bring in the driveway for her. We'll make sure.
I've got to convince her. Jordan did a pretty good job, and his wife loves it.
It wasn't quite a marketing campaign from previous callers.
But no, she seems to enjoy it.
Did a good job. All right, if you want to get in touch, if you've got an EV story to tell or you just want to have a chat about EVs, 0477 657 657. Stephen, let's keep going with callers. 0477 657 657. If you want to be on the show, just get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Mike is on the line. G'day, Mike.
G'day, Trevor. G'day, Stephen.
How you going?
Mate, great to hear from you. Tell us about where you're at in terms of shifting potentially from petrol or diesel to the world of hybrid or electric.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I'm actually moving off from a Ford Everest Sport, the 2 litre diesel, into a BYD Shark 6.
Whoa.
Wow, that's a big call. So
yeah.
Everest or Ranger, did you say?
Everest.
It's the Everest.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
You're
That's right.
going from a 4-wheel drive people mover to a Ute.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the previous car I had was a Mazda BT50 beforehand.
Okay.
So
Yep.
yeah.
Now, how
So
did you
dual cab to wagon
How did
and-
you come to this
yeah.
decision? Because it's
Yeah.
a big call.
Oh, look. So the main thing is that I actually needed to have either a plug-in hybrid or an EV car that had towing capacity to be able to pull a horse float.
Mm-hmm.
So that 2.5 tons that the Shark 6 says it can do is what I was sort of looking for.
Okay.
And then the Ford Everest is sort of just towards the end of its 5-year warranty period, and by chance it's actually at the dealership with a major engine oil seal replacement. So it's not looking so good at the
Is
moment.
that what told you to get into the EV/hybrid space then, seeing that, having that experience?
Oh, yeah, that just happened sort of recently, but I put the order for the Shark 6 in around the end of the year. So, I was sort of still keen to get into the plug-in hybrid space with that car.
What concerns you about this big move? It's a huge move, right? BT50 is a very different car from a couple of cars ago. The Everest, beautiful car, great fit out and finish and great ride and handling. This is a big leap because it's almost untested water. I think we've got a lot of basic faith in BYD broadly, although there's a few bits of feedback that they need to take. But that's a brand new car, but it is getting a lot of hype there, Mike. So is that what drew you there?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, certainly the value of the FBT exemption for the novated lease was attractive for it, as long as you can get it before the 1st of April this year.
Yep.
And then I think for me, really, I don't really have the Everest as a people mover. My kids are sort of grown up, but it's really that we've got sort of 2 dogs that we sort of put into the back of the wagon space, which will either just have to sit on the back seat of the Shark or make space in the Ute area.
Is this the first? So the BT, that was a Ute before.
BT50,
That was a Ute,
yeah.
And so,
Yes.
the BYD brand, had you a sort of an impression of that before making this decision? Had you seen their other vehicles, or are you coming in? Was this the first experience you've had with BYD?
So it's the first experience coming into BYD. I did see them, come into the market a year or so ago, and then I was sort of thinking about the Shark, but then one of my mates had sort of latched onto the first day to put a deposit down on the Shark, and then I saw another mate, a friend who's runs a brick lane team, and he was so excited about having his deposit on the Shark 6 that he even drove up with the BYD seal for his missus. So, I think so many people walk into the dealership looking at one car and end up buying a second. So.
Wow.
That's not bad.
That's a big wrap for them too.
Yeah.
And, I think that once they crack a bit of that, tradie traditional Ute market and they start to get some just word of mouth, genuine feedback about the usability of just the power points in the car, let alone the range that you genuinely get from it, the cost of driving it around town. Because I think the numbers are most tradies are only driving, the kind of kilometres in a day that absolutely suit the pure EV range of the BYD. Do you see yourself driving mainly as a pure EV, or are you a bit of a long distance man and you'll just get the benefits of the overall fuel economy?
Probably just as a short distance, really. Yeah, I mean, my wife is pretty keen on the solar system and saving money on the fuel costs. So I think we'll just be doing sort of shorter, sort of city commutes and be sort of plugging in to charge up every day. So, we'll do some longer runs, but mainly it'll just be shorter runs and making the use of the electricity.
Are you going to bother to put in a wall charger at home? What's going to be the situation there? Or are you just going to rely on the public chargers?
Oh yes, I've been thinking about that and thinking about getting a wall charger, but then instead what I'll do is I'll get in a 15 amp plug socket just next to the switchboard, and so I can then run the 8 amp sort of trickle charger that BYD gives me.
I was going to say, does that come with it?
15 amp one in.
Yeah. Okay, so there is a trickle charger that comes with it, because I noticed that that there are the availability of those trickle chargers. I mean, Aldi had a special buy recently. Bunnings has got them. So honestly, with a plug-in hybrid, the BYD Shark as an example, The amount of range, the amount of batteries, you don't really need a 3-phase or even 7 kilowatt. You really only need the trickle and just be using it every day and every night.
So, a question without notice: what's the range on the battery on the EV portion of the Shark? How far could you drive on the just battery alone, EV, on the Shark?
100k they say.
Okay.
Yeah,
they say 100. So if you think 80 to 100 depending on your range, that is more than enough for most people's daily commute. And so if you then go, I think the mindset here really is mobile phone. I get home, I plug it in. I get home, I plug it in. That's all you need to do.
Top it up. Yeah.
Because that car will recharge every night with ease, no questions. Obviously, if you've done a long drive, you're putting petrol back in it and you're charging it at night. And you're going to be incentivized in your own mind to plug it in, because the day or two that you forget is the day that the next day you drive and you've got this sound of a petrol motor and you're going to realize that you're paying for fuel, and therefore you're going to remember to charge it again. Is there anything that you're kind of nervous about going into it, picking up the car and whatnot?
So because this will be the first sort of EV or, plug-in hybrid purchase for me, I'm sort of a bit uncertain about what to go and ask and check the dealership when I go in there for, 30 minutes of happiness and red ribbons. So, I was sort of keen to try and just check out, like with the new car, do I need to have the app installed on my mobile phone?
That's a good question. Having not picked up a BYD Shark, the first thing I'd say is as long as you are understanding of the type of people that exist in humanity, join the Facebook groups for the BYD Shark, because you'll find a lot of people that have already picked them up, find people that are like you, ready to pick them up, and there's definitely great learnings you can get from other individuals. But I think having the BYD app downloaded, I assume you just create your own account and then you add a car, and so you add the car via the VIN number and things like that. So having that all ready before you go to the dealer means that when you sit down with them, and you should let them know. Look, I'm expecting a thorough handover, because there's two types of people in the world. There's people like me who just go, just give me the keys, I want to go. And then there's people like you that want to actually know everything the car does, and they will have different handover processes for those different types of clients. So let them know that you want the full experience. You want to know everything the car can and should do. You want to know the best way to operate it, charge it, and all those things. The car will already have in it a SIM card, so you don't need to bring a SIM card. It will have, that's essentially part of the purchase price is the SIM card and the monthly plan. That it's all part of the deal.
Part of the deal, yeah.
So it will have that connectivity stuff built in. But the app you can install, you can create an account, and then get ready to add the car. And everything else is really just about learning where it is on the infotainment system.
Yeah, sure. And because the car is, fairly computerized, do I need to ask whether it needs to have a firmware update applied to it as well?
It'll do that on its own. The over-the-air updates will happen. You can coordinate it all through the app, actually. So it's pretty easy.
You should say to them, can you confirm that it's had all of its needed firmware? But it would be unbelievable to me if the dealer has not, in the pre-delivery process. These cars come off a truck at a dealer, covered in plastic and things. They take all that off, they vacuum and they wash them, and then they do some basic checks. Is everything tight? And then they will plug in and check that it is running the latest software. So it should come to you with today's upgrade, today's software. And then you'll start. This is the thing about joining those Facebook groups, right? You'll be driven batty by some people who are like, I want this update. And, the dealer hasn't given it to me yet. And it's like, whoa, mate, that thing is rolled out to like 20 people because they've got to test it in the market and different things. Don't be one of those people. Just get it when it comes. But again, you'll learn from existing owners, and I don't think you should worry about it at all. You shouldn't give it any thought, other than to be very specific with the dealer to say, I want to know everything. I want a really detailed handover, and I want someone to show me how the app works, so that you're doing that, and you should be pretty comfortable about that. What colour did you get?
Oh, look, originally I had blue down, but then I've got a white car, and I don't know. I like the look of the white car, and you can get dirty without looking so bad.
Yes.
I've changed to the white car. Yeah.
Nice. Well done. How far off is the delivery, mate?
When are you getting it? Yeah.
So I was on the third ship, which arrived last week, and then they sort of said, early March, but from what I'm seeing and hearing from my mates there, they're sort of struggling to fit accessories. They're sort of pushing that by 4 to 6 weeks, and so they're sort of pushing the car out without the accessories, and And even like one of my mates was just getting car mats, and he was still sort of waiting 2 or 3 weeks for getting the delivery of the car as well. So yeah, so hopefully, well, definitely before the 1st of April, and sooner rather than that.
Well, the anticipation is overwhelming, but don't worry, you'll enjoy it from the minute you drive it out, and I'm pretty sure you'll have a great experience. And we'd love to hear from you after a few months of driving it, loves and hates. Because there's nothing. We can drive a car for a week here and there, but there's nothing like someone who's owned a car for 3 months, 4 months to say, "Oh, this was a bit niggly, and this is happening," and share it, mate. Because we'd love to hear from you. All right?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, we'll do.
Good on you, Mike. Enjoy the car, mate.
Great, thanks, and thanks for the podcast series. Cheers,
mate. We appreciate you listening and getting in touch. Good on you, Mike. Enjoy the BYD Shark. What a cracking little vehicle! And
that's what I should drive. That's my nickname.
It is your nickname, Sharky. Yeah. So isn't it funny? I've never called you that.
Yeah, no. There you go.
Are you offended that I've never called you by your nickname?
You're not my mate, or it's what my mates call me.
Yeah, but that's like from school upwards.
All good, mate.
There's no one in the tech world that calls you Sharky.
No, of course not.
Oh, apart from Giro.
Yeah, Giro sometimes.
Giro will call you Sharky.
Yeah, sometimes.
But that's it.
Yeah.
Are you offended that I don't call you Sharky?
Not at all.
I think it'd be weird if I said, "Hey, Sharky." You'd be like, "Mate, what are you doing?"
My wife calls me Sharky sometimes.
Whoa!
In certain situations.
On that note, we'll take a break and be back with a little more before we wrap up the show. Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. Yes. All right, now we had a call a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to refresh my memory and say it was Scott. Scott called a couple of weeks ago in early March. It's now late March. And he brought up the issue of BYD Atto 3s not being able to charge at the latest generation Tesla Superchargers.
Righto.
And this was mind-blowing to me, and we had a long conversation about it. So if you missed that, go back and have a listen. Scott, with respect, was very fervent in his concerns and almost demands. Talked about legal action at one point.
Yeah, class action. That we're talking about.
Now, I put a lot of questions to BYD and little inside baseball with regards to any journalism. When you put 10 questions to a company, they never answer them all. They normally just give you one answer, and that's fine. I knew that's what I was going to get, but I threw it out there anyway. So the statement from BYD on that issue. Now, it has been reported. I've seen it reported in a few places. I don't know why I took my glasses off. I can't read without it. The statement from BYD attributed to a spokesperson for EV Direct, who are the Australian distributor of the BYDs.
Yep.
At BYD, we take pride in our battery technology leadership and are committed to ensuring broad charging compatibility. To address access to Tesla version 3 and version 4 chargers and enhance charging flexibility, BYD has developed a retrofit charging harness. We expect it to arrive in Australia within the coming weeks, after which it will undergo thorough testing and validation. Once we're confident it meets our high standards, we'll make it available to customers who require it. This will be an optional upgrade, and we're still finalising pricing while we are working to keep the cost as low as possible. The extended range version harness will arrive first. The standard range version will arrive shortly after. So
how does describe what this would look like? A harness. So
it's a wiring harness, right? So just imagine you've got the plug that you plug into, and then behind that is a bunch of wires that go down to the battery, right?
Right.
That's called the wiring harness. The car, when it's built, the wiring harness is everything from the indicator stalk all the way through to the lights. Yep. But it'd be a part of the wiring harness. So they've essentially re-engineered that at the factory, and they're sending them over to be retrofitted. But it's not something you're about to do in your own garage. Definitely.
Yeah, you got to get someone to do it for you.
It's definitely a dealership thing. It is definitely not going to be a warranty fix. It is definitely not going to be a free upgrade. It's definitely going to come at a cost.
But and obviously for the drivers who are keen to get it, like our previous caller
and I think we asked Scott. I think
he'll want to do that.
I think he said, he would.
Yeah.
But will it stop him from taking legal action? Now, they don't address my question on legal action here at all.
Yeah.
And I've thought about this a lot over the time since we spoke to Scott, and I see both sides of the argument. But one of Rob Rigby, who's a good mate of ours, said he knew about this issue before he bought the car and didn't stop him buying it.
Yeah.
So they're going to be very careful not to assume that everyone didn't know this. And you've also got to be careful not to assume that it's expected your car will work everywhere. Maybe that's what we need to think about.
Well, isn't the case like where they're sort of relying on another company's technology to be compatible with theirs?
That's like saying, you go to a Shell servo to fill up my Mazda 2 with unleaded, and it works.
And the nozzle doesn't fit.
But when I go to a BP, the nozzle doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Now that's exactly how it should work with diesel, so that you don't accidentally do it. But that's essentially what this is.
Yeah.
Petrol, the pump, should work for every car. And people's assumption is that every charger will work with every car. Now, there are two types of chargers in Australia, CHAdeMO and CCS2.
Yeah.
But I would personally, I think I'd be really annoyed if my car didn't charge on any CCS2 charger. And so that's why people like Scott are frustrated. And I think there's potentially a case, but I see it being a very drawn-out case that would set a precedent, because it would mean that, because you've got to remember, according to Scott, and we are using Scott, who seemed to do a lot of research, according to Scott, the CCS2 charging standards, that were created, and I feel like this is like 5G, our other world, right?
Yeah.
5G standards actually weren't signed off on by the industry until a certain point. 5G already launched. So some networks had already launched 5G.
Yeah.
Before the standard had been defined.
Yeah.
Now, those networks were actually part of the definition of the standard, so they were pretty confident. So it feels to me like the CCS standard was developed at this point in time, and the BYD was their charging harness was created here before that had been signed off on. And that's that point where Tesla went, well, here's the standards. We're going to implement these standards rigorously to the letter on our charging network. And because they've done it to the letter, their chargers go, whoa, this car doesn't meet the standard.
Yeah.
So it's rejecting the car.
Right.
And that's not to say there won't be other cars like that. It also is not to say there won't be other chargers like that.
So have you ever heard other brands that
I've not heard of other brands being affected by this, no.
Wow. Well,
but I know there was another, like I think the Seal had an issue, but it was fixed with the software upgrade.
Okay. But this is obviously not a software fix. This is a hardware fix.
This is clearly a wiring issue.
The wiring harness.
So, look, I don't think that's...
What would that cost? Would it be cheap?
No, it
It'd
feels...
be a decent upgrade, this one.
You're pulling a fair bit of the car apart.
I think you're talking thousands of dollars here.
Yeah, my guess is it's going to be... If I had to take a guess, it's probably going to be at a cost to BYD. And I don't think they'll try and make money off it. I think they'll... I think it's
cover their costs.
It's a couple of grand.
Yeah.
Now,
well, if you're
people that travel a lot,
it's like having, it's like a little safety feature, really. You don't want to not be
do you remember?
rejected.
Remember when you sold your Tesla Model S?
Yep.
You talked in the ad about how you'd done the module upgrade to be 4G. You'd done the screen upgrade. You'd done a few things to the car.
Yes, I did.
At your cost.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
I wonder whether this is a smart investment from Atto 3 owners, so that come resale,
absolutely,
you can say
that's a good point.
Compatible
because
with Tesla version 3 4 chargers.
That's a good comparison, because my car it had a 3G SIM card in it.
It'd be useless now.
And so trying to sell that would be tough. But just being the tech nerd that I am, I thought I wanted the best and the latest in it. But no, it did become a selling point, because every other Model S that around the same time mine was built had the 3G SIM. So I'd actually gone to the trouble of upgrading it. So I can see where you're going. Like, if a BYD owner decides to make this upgrade, then that's a line in the ad to say that you're cool for the third and fourth
in 3
gen.
years from now, you're in the market for a second-hand I think about Jackson's first or second car. It's not going to be a brand new car, but it might be a second-hand BYD Atto 3, right? Because it'll be in like 4 or 5 years from now.
Maybe,
right?
yeah.
So you're in the market and you're looking at 10 cars listed at an Amazing EV or on car sales, wherever it might be. I would absolutely, if I was selling an Atto 3, I would make a point of saying that.
I think so too.
So my advice to owners is do the upgrade.
Well, if you intend on hanging on to the car for a while and then you're getting a decent price for it, then absolutely.
Yeah, but also it does depend on your travels and things too.
Yeah,
so,
I suppose so.
Look, thanks to BYD for supplying the statement. It helps us understand where they're at. And the other thing I want to say about BYD, and this is genuine feedback, Scott, who writes for me at EFTM, has an Atto 3, and he said to me the other day, super frustrated, I don't think I'd buy a Chinese car again. Like, what's happened here?
What's he done?
And he said, and I'm paraphrasing, he said in simple terms, he's had a couple of issues and it's just been laborious with the dealership to handle, right?
He actually mentioned that to me too.
And I said, look,
some customer service issues.
I think they'd want to know that. And I reached out to Luke Todd, who was the original kind of boss of BYD in Australia, and said, mate, just so you know, I think you should hear this. And he said, mate, look, give me his number. We'll reach out to him. And they've reached out to him and they're talking to him. And sort of Scott said to me, it shouldn't take you reaching out.
I always say it. It shouldn't have to be that way. Yeah.
But here's what I said to him, right? I said, think of it this way. Toyota shouldn't. If someone comes to me with an issue about Toyota customer service, that's a disgrace because they have a huge dealership network, decades of legacy here, right?
Yep.
BYD, they are growing at an exponential rate.
Yeah.
And so I said, look, I think a new brand growing faster probably than they know how to, stuff's going to go wrong. And so they deserve a chance to learn. Definitely. I said to Scott, I think they deserve a chance to fix and learn.
Absolutely.
So, look, I'm not forgiving them their woes because it's terrible when people have issues. But I think that unfortunately that's what you're doing. If you buy a Zeekr, a Geely, a Xpeng, or whatever you buy, look, unless it is at a dealership run by a Toyota or an old Holden dealership or something, which most of these are. But you got to remember the chain going up from getting parts to all the other approvals and decisions. It's new. You are definitely a guinea pig.
It's not like a legacy brand like Mercedes-Benz or something that's been doing it for quite a while, and it's their customers. They pride themselves on customer service because you know what? They don't want to sell you one car; they want to sell you 5 cars in the future. Yeah. I think if these companies adopt that kind of attitude, then you might see some improvements.
You're a guinea pig, and look, I think you've got to go into it knowing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Look,
you're a new customer. They're a new company, of course. Yeah,
it is what it is. Yeah. Quick one to wrap up. We spoke to Simon a few weeks ago, and he sent us a note. I've just finished binging your pod.
Oh,
took me all of February.
Wow.
He says, "Thank you for answering so many questions, as well as questions I hadn't thought of." And this is my favourite part of this message, and this is egotistical, but it's also great feedback for the listeners. Your guests are great, but your callers are amazing.
Yeah.
The stuff I've learnt listening to their reality as opposed to car company spin. I've got a few topics you could possibly touch on.
Idea. So they're the stars of the show.
A lot of feedback here from Simon. We might even take on board looking for interviews and things that we do. And that's a really big thing for us. You know what? We should probably get Brad on to talk about dash cams. I mean, it's a funny thing that we sit here and we talk about them as a sponsor. But
he has been on before. He has been.
We should get. But it's been a year. It's been a while.
Getting back on.
We should be back on talking about that.
New products coming through too.
We got to dig into all the issues that people raise. If you've got an issue around EVs and you think that we can raise it or have an interview about it, we will do that.
But
for
you brought up before, like your experience is your experience. We want to hear about it. We've had our own experiences and learnings, but you have different experiences, and that's what this show brings. We put them all together, hear from all you guys. It's we learn from it as well as the other listeners.
Yeah, and it's my literally favourite thing about it is what we learn about EVs at the same time as you do. So thank you very much for your company. 0477 657 657. If you want to get in touch and be a part of the show, we'd love to hear from you, Stephen. Let's do it all again next week.
I'll look forward to it.